Good morning, everyone. We are now in week 7 for applied economics, and I'm going to discuss today the continuation for the topics on contemporary economic issues facing the Filipino entrepreneur. From last time, we have discussed matters on investment and rentals. Okay, so there are two other topics with regards to contemporary economic issues that are dealt by Filipino entrepreneur. And for this week, we will be discussing about the minimum wage and taxes. Again, for question, you can always ask me with valid questions on RGC. And for those who will not be able to have this, yung apat, they can always come to the school by tomorrow, okay? I'll be at the school starting at around 9 a.m., okay? So let's start. Wages. So wages is basically sweldo, a salary, a remuneration. And basically, it doesn't necessarily mean that one position has a similar salary bracket, okay? So there are several salary brackets, several bases for having salaries assigned for each employee, and basically what we will be discussing is its implication in the livelihood of the employees, okay? So for your activity one, I need you to list down the kind of work that your family members do. Halimbawa, merong dalawa, tatlo, or even lima na nagtatrabaho sa pamilya niyo, ililista ninyo yun. I don't need the name, okay? I just need to know the kind of work na ginagawa nila. Like for example, office worker, construction worker, carpenter, etc. Then across to it is the respective salary, okay? So magkano yung sinisweldo nila as you know it. Then afterwards, you discuss on your answer sheet if the combined family income is enough for the family and discuss why or why not. Okay? Actually, lagi naman sana natin sasabihin, laging kulang, di ba? But siguro, masasabi natin kulang if the basic necessities are not provided enough. Okay? Pero hindi siya kulang kung ang hindi na ibibigay sa inyo ng inyong pamilya is yung inyong mga luxury. May cellphone ako. Sir, kulang po kasi hindi ako mabilhan ng bagong klase ng cellphone. Hindi yun kulang. Kasi you are asking for a luxury. Diba? So ang pinag-uusapan natin, sapat ba para sa pang-araw-araw na pangangailangan ng pamilya yung pinagsamang income ng pamilya ninyo? Bakit or bakit hindi? Okay? So, let's move on to the topic proper. Determinants of market wage rates. So, a basic principle daw of economics is the notion that the price of value of goods, services, and even resources like labor is determined by the behavior of demand and supply. So, basically, in economics, whatever resources it is, yung dami is always yung dami ng pagsusupply is always dependent, no, hindi dami ng pagsusupply, dami ng availability for consumption and ready for sale is always dependent to, sa behavior ng demand and supply ng mga consumer. So labor demand, what is a labor demand? The demand for labor is similar to the demand for a good and thus generally follows the law of demand. Okay? So, the wage which is the price of labor. So, ang wage is the price of labor. So, ang trabaho is also not really equivalent, also requires a price para merong magtrabaho. Okay? Yun yun. So, the wage is the price of labor is plotted down in the y-axis of the graph, and the quantity of labor, which can be expressed by the number of employment available in the market, is plotted in the x-axis. Halimbawa, merong 10 katao sa inyong lugar who are part of the who are part of the labor group, okay, or the labor force. Now, yung 10 yun, would require to have a job. Kailangan nila ng trabaho. Pero that doesn't necessarily mean na yung 10 iyon ay makakahanap ng trabaho or merong available na trabaho para sa kanila kasi yung supply natin ng labor doesn't necessarily mean na merong equivalent availability ng trabaho para sa kanila. Like for example, 10 ang magtatrabaho pero 5 lang or 7 lang ang available na trabaho. So ibig sabihin 7 lang sa kanila ang makakapagtrabaho. Minsan hindi pa yan, kahit 7 ang available na trabaho, hindi pa yan lahat sila ay makakapagtrabaho. Bakit? Kasi yung kanilang skills, knowledge, and experience do not met the requirements ng mga trabaho na available sa market. Okay? So similar to the law of demand, when the price of labor increases, the related quantity of labor decreases, which makes the price of labor inversely related to the quantity of labor. So this means that employers will hire more people when wages go down. So ibig sabihin yan, habang tumataas yung mandated sweldo para sa group of laborers, bumababa yung mga employer that would want to hire employees, di ba? Eh sir, kailangan nila ng trabahador hindi sa lahat ng pagkakataon. Bakit? Kasi pwedeng yung isang trabaho na available na pwede akong kumuha ng isang trabahador is hindi na lang ako kukuha. Ang gagawin ko, dadagdagan ko ng sweldo, magbabayad ako ng overtime doon sa existing ko na trabaho para gawin niya yung isang trabaho para sa isang tao. Nakatipid ako kung ako ang employer. Diba? So, pero ganito yan. Kapag naman mababa yung price ng labor, ibig sabihin, kukuha ako kasi kaya kong gumastos para sa additional na tao. Okay? Remember na kapag kayo ay merong empleyado, hindi lamang yung kanilang basic salary ang ginagastos ninyo. Na-discuss ko sa inyo yan sa Principles of Management. Gagastosan nyo yan ng mga benefits, SSS, Pag-ibig, PhilHealth, etc. Bakit? Sa SSS, Pag-ibig and PhilHealth, meron tayong tinatawag na employer share, the ER share. Halimbawa, si employer ay employee ay nagbabayad ng 100, nahulog niya sa SSS, kayo ay yung minimum babayaran ninyo bilang employer. Like for example, the minimum is 100 also, babayad kayo niyan. Dagdag na ano yan, gastos. Kung sila ay nagbabayad ng 200 sa PhilHealth, kayo ang minimum na binabayaran is 100, magbabayad kayo ng 100 kada isang empleyado. That is part of the cost of employing people, di ba? So hindi lang yan basta sweldo ng isang tao. E papaano pa kung mga nag-uopisina yan, yung kanilang computer, kanilang internet, yung kanilang cubicle, yung kanilang steel cabinet, kasama yan sa gastos ng pagkakaroon ng empleyado, di ba? That is actually the reason why yung mga yung ibang mga manufacturers sa ibang bansa, like for example, Nike, is kumukuha sila or nagpapagawa sila ng kanilang mga produkto sa mga bansa na mas mura ang salaries, ang wage rate. Okay? Like sa China, yung Nike, nagpapagawa sila, kumukuha sila ng raw materials at nagpapagawa sila ng certain parts of the shoes doon kasi mas mura binabayaran nila compared kung sa US mismo nila yan gagawin. Same thing, na-discuss ko yan sa inyo before, yung sole, yung swelas ng Nike sa isang, kalimutan ko yung eksaktong country. Sa isang Arab country sila nagpapagawa ng, cutting lang naman yun ng swelas kasi mas mura ang labor doon. Although nagkaroon sila ng kaso kasi ang ini-employ nila, ang nagkakat ng mga swelas is mga bata and they are underpaying itong mga bata nito, di ba? So ang bottom line is kung saan mas mura yung wages na alam nating makakapag-produce ng mas maraming produkto, doon tayo magpapagawa. Kaya nga nauuso ang outsourcing. Pag sinabi nating outsourcing, ako, for example, hindi na ako magtatayo ng sarili kong accounting department. Ang gagawin ko, ipapagawa ko yung accounting function ko sa isang outsourcing company na yun lang ang kanilang business. Gumawa ng trabaho ng ibang kumpanya. Ano-ano pa yung mga ina-outsource? Accounting, payroll, yung mga contact centers, customer services, ina-outsource yung mga services na yan. Okay? Clarification, doon lamang sa ating GC. Labor supply. It follows the principle of the law of supply, which says that if the price of labor increases, then the supply of labor also increases. So sabi dyan and vice versa. It follows the principle of law of supply. Kapag daw yung yung dami ng trabaho ay tumataas, then the supply of labor also increases. So as wage increases daw, more people will enter the labor market. Siyempre, kapag mas mataas ang sweldo, doon tayo. Hanap tayo ng trabaho, pasok tayo ng trabaho sa ganon. And compete for higher paying jobs. But if wages decline, there will be fewer people looking for jobs and competing for these lower wages. Kaya nga pag kapag naghanap ng trabaho, ang malaking consideration para sa atin, magkano? Magkano ang ipapasweldo? Kasi if we think that is enough for us and we can be satisfied with what they are offering, apply tayo. Pero kahit alam natin qualified tayo, kung sa tingin natin mas mababa yung sweldong ibibigay, then hindi natin yan masyadong kinoconsider. Okay. So when the labor demand and supply meet at a certain wage and quantity of workers, an equilibrium is reached. This point of equilibrium is called the market clearing. So kapag daw enough para sa mga nangangailangan yung trabaho, yung available ng trabaho, you are entering a market clearing or the labor equilibrium. Okay? So it is where the firms may hire an employee at the existing wage rate and people would like to have that wage rate would be able to do so. So kapag tama naman yung pasweldo, yung mga tao would be able to thinks that they will be satisfied with the sweldo offered, then basically we are still in the market clearing or is still in the equilibrium. However, as this is a competitive labor market, even though there is an identified market clearing, employers and employees may leave the labor market as firms may want to pay lower wages or workers may wish to earn higher wages. Yun eh. Kasi kapag nakakakita ng opportunities yung mga employer na makakatipid sila sa sweldo, yun yung option na kukunin nila. And umaalis din naman yung mga empleyado kapag meron silang nakikitang better opportunities. Okay? And then when jobs are safe and easy, we can assume that the wages they pay are average. Talaga ba? Kapag madali daw ang trabaho or safe, ligtas, most people want to have such jobs. Okay? Although dito sa ating kasi, yung ating mga construction workers, mga blue-collar workers, parang mas mababa kumpara sa mga white-collar workers yung kanilang sinisweldo. Pero mas delikado yung kanilang ginagawa, di ba? Although some other countries medyo malaki yung offered sa mga skilled workers. That is actually the reason kung bakit yung ating mga mga skilled workers, skilled people in the Philippines are looking for employment elsewhere in the world. So as the job becomes more difficult and dangerous, workers naturally require a higher wage to do such a work. That is an ideal, okay? Pero it doesn't necessarily mean that it happens at all the economic conditions in the world, okay? So compensating differential is the difference in wages that arise to offset the non-monetary characteristic of different jobs. People who work in coal mines or on night shifts usually receive compensating differential to make up for the unpleasant nature of the job. Yung ating mga contact center agent, usually they are paid with night differentials from 10 a.m. down to 10 p.m. 10 p.m. down to 6 a.m. Usually, there is an additional premium, mga 10% nung kanilang sweldo are also provided. Well, there are also other companies na hindi lang basta dagdag na premium, ang ginagawa is nagdadagdag rin ng other benefits. Like for example, pag doon sa dati kong trabaho, pag nakaabot ka na ng 10 p.m., meron ka ng free meals, meron ka ng free coffee, etc. That is just to attract people to work even if medyo unpleasant yung kanilang magiging nature of work. Okay. So, in a perfectly competitive labor market, firms and workers are free to enter and exit the market. This makes the equilibrium allocation of workers to firm efficient. So, perfectly competitive labor market, pwedeng umalis yung mga trabahador, pwedeng magpalit ng trabahador ang isang firm. They can do that, and simply because there is an availability of work to everyone who may wish to change career. So how the workers fit the firm maximizes the total gains that workers and firms accumulate by trading with each other. So basically, pag ako mag-hire ng mga tao, what I am looking is the exact person who has the exact qualification of the things that I wanted to be done. Diba? Bakit? Kasi kung hindi sila yung tamang tao, tendency niyaan, maraming mali na magagawa, and then at the same time, magpapalit ako ng magpapalit kasi hindi sila yung tamang tao fitted for the job, and at the same time, gagastos ako ng gagastos for trainings, di ba? Ito yung dito pumapasok yung mga mismatching sa trabaho. Kaya nga may mga pagkakataon na tayo ay kumukuha ng trabaho kahit alam nating less yung ating competence for that work simply because kailangan natin. And some employers naman would hire people even if less yung kanyang qualification kasi kailangan talaga nilang i-fill up yung position na yun. So, a competitive equilibrium leads to an efficient allocation of resources. Okay? So, eto yon yung pinag-uusapan natin, labor market equilibrium in a competitive market. So, sa equilibrium, there is a full employment, pero nagkakaroon ng labor surplus if mas mababa yung dami ng available na trabaho, while nagkakaroon ng labor shortage if nagkakaroon ng labor surplus if mas marami ang ang labor force na nangangailangan ng trabaho, di ba? Kumpara doon sa ino-offer na trabaho, while nagkakaroon ng labor shortage if mas maraming trabahong available pero yung available and qualified workers ay mas kaunti. Okay? So, minimum wage. Punta naman tayo nasa minimum wage pa rin tayo. Minimum wage is the lowest. Lowest ha. Pag sinabi namin minimum, that is the lowest. Kapag bumaba pa yung ino-offer nyo dyan na sweldo, ay pwede na kayong kasuhan ng batas unless doon sa pinag-usapan natin sa principles of management, there are exemptions para sa mga small and medium enterprise na ipinatupad sa panahon ni President Arroyo. Okay? Anong conditions noon? Pwede kayong mag-offer below the minimum wage if you are also providing parts of their daily needs. Like for example, mas mababa sweldo pero meron kayong meal allowance, meron kayong barracks where your staff would stay, etc. Okay? And then this is a form of government intervention to alleviate poverty and income inequality in terms of rendering job services kasi dapat sa minimum wage, even though if it is the lowest, dapat the salary that these workers are receiving would still compensate kung ano yung mga basic needs na kailangan nila. Okay? Sabi ko sa principles of management, the main purpose of having employment is to have a decent life. If being employed and yet you are not able to provide decent life for yourself, then basically that work does not provide you enough resources. So ibig sabihin that is not it doesn't follow yung principle na kapag may trabaho dapat nagiging at least maayos ang pamumuhay ng isang tao. So ibig sabihin there is a problem in the economy. Okay? The effects of minimum wage may in principle differ between industries and which employers do and do not have control over the wage rates they pay for the labor of a given skill and application. So minimum wage is set primarily in protecting workers from abusive employment practices kasi doon sa panahon ng Industrial Revolution, sinasabi natin, si employer ang nagdidikta o magbabayad ako ng 10 piso pero magtatrabaho kayo para sa akin sa loob ng 15 hours. That is not healthy. Diba? So, assigning a minimum wage for an 8-hour work basically helps in protecting workers from getting abused. Diba? A decent minimum wage is actually a useful tool in addressing wide disparities in wage distribution. So, ibig sabihin, decent minimum wage will actually, by ideal, provide a person or a worker with a decent life as well, and this would help them in getting protection from getting abuses, and then at the same time provide for the basic needs of their families. So for your activity 2, I need you to answer this one. So the first question, do you think that the minimum wage in the Philippines is sufficient in providing decent life for the Filipinos? Justify your answer. Enough ba yung minimum wage dito sa Pilipinas para magkaroon ng decent life ang mga tao? Ang pinag-uusapan natin dito yung mga minimum earners, like for example, yung mga teachers above minimum yan. Like for example, yung mga construction workers, yung mga sales ladies, sales people, yung mga attendant, in your judgment, sapat ba? Sapat ba yung minimum wage na natatanggap nila para magkaroon sila ng decenteng buhay? Why or why not? Please base your answer from your observation in your immediate community and if meron, your family. Okay? Next is, based from what had been discussed, do you think that there is a need to increase the minimum wage in Rizal? The minimum wage in Rizal is, I think, around 300 something, parang ganon. Okay? But you also have to consider, there are 5 people or 3 people earning minimum wage in the family. Pero pag kinumbine ba natin ito, enough na para sa family of 5, family of 3, family of 10, kasi minsan extended family kayo sa mga bahay ninyo, di ba? So you also have to consider that in increasing the minimum wage in Rizal. But the thing is, paano kung isa lang ang nagtatrabaho sa bahay? Diba? Will it be enough? Okay, moving on, taxes. So for your first activity in this topic, considering the tax reform, yung tax reform natin, pinababa yung tax rate para sa income tax ng mga Pilipino during the Duterte's administration. Okay? So, sa tingin ninyo, is it nalito ako sa question ko. What do you think is its direct effect on your family's income? Okay? Dati kasi talagang medyo mataas ang ating income tax. Like in my case, for example, malalaman nyo na, wag na lang ako. Halimbawa lang. Before the Duterte's tax reform, yung sweldo na 40,000, ang malinis na nakukuha niya after all the deductions, sabihin natin is 32,000. Okay? Tax, example lang ha. Tax, PhilHealth, Pag-ibig, SSS or GSIS, yon, di ba? Then after the tax reform ng kay Duterte, yung 40,000 naging 36,000 na or 38. No. Sabihin natin naging 36,000 na yung kanyang nakukuha per month, di ba? Tumaas. So sa tingin niyo, does it help? Kasi ang nangyari naman nito, yung excise tax ang tumaas. Like for example, yung mga yung mga produkto ng soft drinks, produkto ng mga sigarilyo, produkto ng mga alak, doon naman idinagdag, doon naman tinaasan yung excise tax, di ba? So sa tingin niyo, tama ba ang ginawa ni Duterte na tax reform sa Pilipinas? I need you to justify your answer. Now, taxes are the lifeline of the government. Of course, walang pera ang gobyerno kung hindi tayo nagbabayad ng tax. And at the same time, it is our constitutional duty in this country to pay taxes because ideally, the government are using these taxes in providing social services, pagpapagawa ng kalsada, operational cost ng mga LGU, the local government, sweldo, yung mga office supplies, etc. Then, kapag may ganitong kalamidad, yung allocation para sa mga relief efforts, etc. Diba? So taxation is the act of levying tax so that the sovereign, through its lawmaking body, can raise income to defray the necessary expenses. Sa atin naman talaga kumukuha ang gobyerno. Although I am part of the government, kasi sa government ako nagtatrabaho, but I am also paying income tax, di ba? So it is an inherent power of the state to demand enforced contribution from the people for public purposes, for public use, and for social services. So tax is levy imposed by the government on the income, wealth, and capital gains of a person or business on spending on goods and services and on properties. Napakaraming bagay binubuwisan. Kapag may bahay ka, meron kang annual tax na binabayaran sa sweldo mo, nagbabayad ka ng income tax, sa mga produktong binibili mo, nagbabayad ka ng value-added tax and also excise tax. So we pay taxes every day on a different form and on different methods as we go on with our daily life and as we use the resources provided by the government. Okay? So taxes are used by the government for a variety of purposes. Number one, raising revenue to cover government expenditures on the provision of social services. Yan ang sinasabi ko kanina, saan yan ginagamit? Education, health, public infrastructure, salaries and benefits of public servants. Sana lang hindi kagaya ng issue ng PhilHealth na kinukurakot. Hindi pa naman napapatunayan, that will be on trial, but basically, they had been parang naakusahan, di ba? Pero remember people na until they had been found guilty, everyone is deemed innocent. Okay? So let's not make a conclusion immediately. As an instrument of fiscal policies in regulating the level of total spending to stabilize the economy, nagulat tayo, di ba? Nung nagsimula yung yung pandemic, merong mga assistance coming from the government, coming from the national government. Meron pa yung 8,000, 5,000 na binibigay do sa mga directly affected by the shutdown of the companies, di ba? So, may pera ang government. Basically, they need to use this for this kind of things and for this kind of services that they need to provide to their people. So it alters the distribution of income and wealth and controls the volume of imports into and sometimes exports of certain goods out of the country, di ba? Like because of the taxes, mas mababa yung binabayaran natin pero kesa sa actual cost ng talagang pamasahe natin sa LRT because the government provides subsidy. Di ba? And then because of the taxes, meron tayong mga kababayang mahihirap na they get to continue their dialysis simply because that is already provided by the government at government which is sa shoulder niyan. Yung in my case, nung nagkasakit yung baby ko, wala akong binayaran sa hospital because may PhilHealth ako na hinuhulugan ko rin naman, di ba? So these are the benefits na nakukuha natin in paying taxes. Okay? At sana lang, when we pay taxes, that is allocated properly by the government. So what are the types of taxes we have here? Direct taxes, these are levied by government on the income and wealth received by the household and businesses to raise government revenue and to act as an instrument of fiscal policies. We have here two types of direct income, yung individual income. Akong empleyado, doon sa sweldo ko, nagbabayad ako ng income tax. And then the second is the corporate income tax. Sabi natin sa principles of management, ang corporation is an artificial entity. Dahil artificial entity siya, kumikita siya in operating business in the country, kailangan niya ring magbayad ng corporate income tax. Okay? So we also have indirect tax. These are taxes levied by the government on goods and services, raised revenue to act as an instrument. So part of the amount we are paying for purchasing specific products are value-added tax or excise tax. So value-added tax are taxes included on goods and services, while excise tax are natatabunan ng aking are included on certain products. Certain products that the government requires to be imposed with excise tax. Sabi natin kanina, saan common yan? Sigarilyo, alak, and yung mga sweet products na inaano natin, kino-consume. Okay? So we also have progressive taxes. So these are taxes that place under burden on those best able to put little to no burden on the poor. So the best example ng progressive tax is in the individual income tax. So most taxpayers today, the more that they earn, the higher percentage they pay for tax. So wag niyong sasabihin na pinapasweldo niyo ako directly kasi part of it, nagbabayad ako ng malaking tax din. Okay? So habang lumalaki daw ang sweldo, mas malaki rin ang tax ng isang tao. So in terms of the average tax rate, people in higher income brackets pay a substantially higher average tax rate than those in the lower bracket. Kasi in my case, hindi pa naman kayo marunong mag-compute kasi ako, pag sabihin nyo sa akin kung magkano tax ninyo, kaya kong computing kung magkano ang sweldo ninyo kahit hindi nyo sabihin. Okay? So since hindi pa naman kayo marunong mag-compute, natututunan nyo pa yan sa college, I am paying around 5,000. More than 5,000 tax per month. Okay? So medyo masakit sa bulsa yun. Sayang yun. Diba? But that is my contribution as a Filipino citizens. While yung mga sumisweldo ng 20,000 pababa yata yun is wala silang income tax. Diba? Exempted sila sa income tax. So pag naging halimbawa 21,000, halimbawa lang to pag nag-excess sila doon sa minimum required na exemption, naging 21,000 sila. Yung 1,000 na yun na yung taxable. Okay? So proportional taxes, these are taxes that place an equal burden on the rich, the middle class, and the poor. In other words, taxes are levied at a constant rate as income arises. So ibig sabihin, pag mas marami kang property, mas malaki ang income mo, mas marami kang negosyo, mas malaki kinikita ng negosyo mo, you pay higher taxes. Okay? Pero pag mas maliit naman, then you pay lower taxes naman, lower to none. Then regressive taxes. These are taxes that fall more heavily on the poor than on the rich. Under this taxation structure, taxes are levied at decreasing rate as income rises. So this form of taxation takes greater proportion of tax from low income taxpayer than from a higher income taxpayer. Pag sinabi nating regressive, pababa, di ba? Pababa yung computation of taxes that are assigned to them. Indirect taxes such as VAT or excise taxes on certain products are regressive when taken as a proportion kasi yung ability to buy and then ability to buy in volume mas mababa kapag mas mahirap ka na tao. So ibig sabihin, mas kaunti yung tax na binabayaran mo siya. Okay? So the basic principle of taxation refers to key concepts that guide governments in designing and implementing an equitable taxation regime. So these basic principles are generally referred to as Adam Smith canons of taxation. So ang inclusion nito, number 1, adequacy. Taxes should be just enough to generate revenue required for the provision of essential public services like health, education, and national defense and police protection. So dapat daw our taxes is enough to fund yung mga government services na ibinibigay sa atin. Even kayo nakikinabang kayo sa tax namin kasi while we are paying medyo malaking tax, you are given free education sa public, di ba? Pero pag nag-private kayo, ibang usapan na yan kasi you pay your education on your own, di ba? And at the same time, pag nag-college kayo, it is still on the Duterte's administration na yung mga public universities and colleges, wala kayong babayaran or very minimal yung babayaran ninyo kasi subsidized ng gobyerno yung state universities na to and colleges, di ba? So, nakikinabang kayo sa taxes, di ba? So, before we attack, bago natin sabihin na walang kwenta ang gobyerno or kaming mga nasa gobyerno, you also need to rethink and reconsider naman din, di ba? Kasi kaming nasa gobyerno are also taxpayers and part of the tax na binabayad namin, lahat po tayo ay nakikinabang. Okay? That is your entitlement to get social services, but you are also entitled to do your part in ensuring na itong taxes na binabayad din namin, hindi napupunta sa wala. How are you going to do that? You can help us. Diba? Huwag kayong babagsak. Diba? Kasi pag bumagsak kayo, uulit kayo, ibig sabihin, yung slot ninyo na dapat para sa isang bagong estudyante na, kinukuha niyo pa rin. Hindi ako hindi ako nanunumbat. Pero I just wanted you to I just wanted you to realize that thing. Okay, next is broad basing. Taxes should be spread over as wide as possible to all sectors of the population or economy to minimize individual tax burden. So ibig sabihin, there should be an equal distribution when it comes to taxes. Dapat proper yung distribution and yung collection is maayos yung schedule. That is actually the reason kung bakit meron tayong mga tax schedule. Okay, so compatibility, taxes should be coordinated to ensure tax neutrality and meet the overall objectives of good governance. Ideally, dapat daw napupunta yan sa tamang pagkakagastusan ng gobyerno, hindi sa bulsa ng mga kurakot. And then convenience, taxes should be enforced in a manner that facilitates voluntary compliance to the maximum extent possible. Do not force. Make sure that you also consider in collecting taxes the state, the economic state of those people paying taxes. Okay, so basic principles of taxation. So we still have here earmarking. Anong ibig sabihin ng earmarking? Tax revenue from a specific source should be dedicated to a specific purpose only. So hindi daw dapat, halimbawa, ang nakolekta natin na ganitong halaga ng tax ay para sa pagbili ng mga module ng mga estudyante, 'di ba? I mean pagpapagawa ng module ng mga estudyante, may sumobra. Dapat daw hindi yan idadivert, gagastusin sa iba. If it is intended for the production of student module, dapat for student module. Yung sobra niyan, ibalik natin sa National Treasury. Diba? Kasi magagamit yan para sa susunod na taon. Diba? So nagtaka kayo, bakit sir may issue yung DepEd bumili ng mga sasakyan? Mga sasakyan, nasa pandemic na nga tayo. Prior to the pandemic, they may have, I don't know what the real story is, but this possibly is the reason. They may have allocated para dyan, napondohan na yan, lumabas lang yung pondo sa panahon na ng pandemic pero hindi dahil para intention yun para ibili ng sasakyan, hindi yan pwedeng gamitin sa iba. Although there is an emergency mandate coming from the President na pwede naman nating i-reallocate yung yung mga natitirang pondo natin para gamitin sa responses. Pwede naman yan if it is authorized by the national government. Okay? Efficiency. Tax collection efforts of the government should not cost an inordinately high percentage of tax revenues. Kaya malaking bagay, malaking usapin kapag nagkakaroon ng bagong tax rates, bagong tax imposition, kasi ibig sabihin kapag habang tumataas yung tax rates na yan, it becomes a burden to the people. Kasi imbis na magamit namin yan doon sa imbis na magamit namin yan doon sa aming pang-araw-araw na pamumuhay, ibinabayad namin yan sa tax fund, di ba? So equity, taxes should equally burden all individuals. Dapat daw pantay-pantay and the entities in similar economic circumstances. Pag pare-pareho kayo ng income, dapat pare-pareho kayo ng ibinabayad na tax. Hindi yung 20,000 lang ang income ko pero yung sumisweldo ng 50,000, pareho kami ng tax rate. Hindi patas yun, di ba? Neutrality, taxes should not favor any one group or sector over another and should not be designed to interfere with or influence individual decision making. Kaya nga may kaso. Yung mga taong dinodoktor yung kanilang mga journal, yung kanilang mga book of accounts bago ipasa sa BIR. Bakit? Kasi sinasabi natin, everyone who has the ability and who has the responsibility to pay taxes should pay taxes. Okay? Hindi natin kailangang itago kung ano man yung dapat na ibinabayad natin or paliitin kung ano dapat yung binabayad natin. Bakit? Kasi we are compromising the government efforts in funding yung kanilang mga social services. Next is predictability. The collection of taxes should reinforce their inevitability and regularity. So dapat ganito karami yung labor force natin, ganito karami yung mga may-ari ng properties, ganito karami yung may-ari ng negosyo. So by next year alam natin kung magkano, at least we have a projection magkano ang makukuha nating tax. By knowing or projecting kung magkano, we will be able to allocate and make the necessary adjustment for our national budget in the coming year. Kasi yung ginagastos natin for the present year ng national government is based from what had been approved on the previous year. Okay? So ibig sabihin, nandiyan na yan. Bago pa man dumating ang taon, inire-ready na magkano ang budget na gagamitin natin for this entire year, knowing magkano makukuha natin and kung magkano yung gap, ano yung mga option ng gobyerno? Uutang, di ba? Uutang sa iba or magre-release ng mga treasury bonds. Then restricted exemptions, tax exemptions must only be done for specific purposes like to encourage investment. Ito na yung sinasabi kong tax holiday para magkaroon ng attraction yung mga investment coming from other countries. Simplicity, tax assessment and determination should be easily understood by an average taxpayer. Kaya mahirap talaga minsan intindihin yung method of computation tax. Isa yan sa medyo mababang grade ko when I was still in college. Kasi sa college, isang buong semester, isang buong subject ang inyong taxation. Okay. So this is your last activity. I need you to do this assignment. Assessment. So these are your guide questions. This is for this week and the last week na natin na lecture. So what kind of enterprise do I need to build? What risks and sacrifices does such an enterprise demand? Can I accept those risks and sacrifices? Setting strategy. How will I get there? Is the strategy well defined? So number one, what kind of enterprise? Anong negosyo? So tingin ninyo ang magandang itayo given our present economic condition. Okay. Number two, what risk and sacrifices you need to undertake in coming up with demand, diba? Or the business. So like for example, sir, gusto ko po pagkain. Sa panahon tayo ng pandemic. Okay. Yes, in demand at all times ang pagkain. Pero since na magbabago ang platform, ano-ano yung mga risks and sacrifices that you are going to do? Sir, hindi ako makapagtayo ng physical store at pupunta sila sa akin. Siguro, one of the sacrifices, I am going to make an added effort selling my products online. One of the risks, hindi ako sigurado kung meron akong assured market. Bakit? Kasi with an online presence, baka gusto nila ngayon, baka bukas hindi. That is a risk. So can I accept those risks and sacrifices? Kaya ko ba? Meron ba akong internet? Meron ba akong motor? Meron ba akong sa kotse para gagamitin paghahatid? Or meron ba akong mga tao who will help me in doing this business? Okay? Setting a strategy. How will I get there? Meron ba akong kapital? Meron ba akong mga makukuhang tao? Meron ba akong mga kagamitan? Okay? So, is the strategy well-defined? Kailangan ko pa bang gumawa ng business plan? Yes or no? It's up to you. Okay. Questions? Doon lamang sa ating GC. Okay. No questions? Thank you, everyone. I hope you are doing well. I hope na walang naapektuhan sa inyo nung ating nangyaring pagbaha. Kasi there are some parts of Teresa na talagang bumaha, di ba? Okay. That's it. Thank you and questions doon lamang.